I don't know, hi Terrace CRC, or this video is made for the people at Terrace CRC. I don't know how many of you are Synod watchers when the webcast comes on, but I have been for a number of years, and it generally produces a lot of thinking. And this video today is related to Synod, but also just to life in general. So it begins, I haven't written this out yet. This is the formation of a beginning of an idea, it feels like. It's going to be called, if I write it as a blog post or something, it's going to be called the UMS post. And it's about continuums and spectrums. So recently I came across various websites in the way that your computer starts to feed you things that you've looked at. I got a string of articles on various what you'll call ailments or conditions. And one of them was introvert extrovert. Another was about ADD. Another one was about adult autism. And they were the kind of articles that when you read them, like it used to be in Reader's Digest when you would find an article that would say 10 indicators you might be a narcissist, and you would read those lists and you would go, whoa, maybe I'm a narcissist. These articles are similar to that. So I read them, and some of the conditions I have diagnoses of, and others I've learned about myself that I fit in a particular category. For instance, I'm an introvert on the scale of introvert extrovert. When you use the definition of how do you restore your personal energy, by being in a crowd or by being alone? And it's definitely by being alone, by being in the quiet, by reading, other kind of quiet reflection. For people that are similar, then busy places with a lot of people and a lot of quick conversations are very tiring to experience. So that's one that I knew, and I have a diagnosis of ADD. I refused taking the medication, and I've just developed adaptive techniques. But these are ADD and introvert extrovert are ends on a spectrum, on a continuum. So a person can land anywhere. If you've charted it as a range, a person can land anywhere in that range. And so these articles got me thinking about that, and how many of these different ranges there might be started to intrigue me. And so I've started collecting a list. There's, these aren't official scientific ones, but there's math-oriented or words-oriented. There's detail-oriented or big picture-oriented. All of those every person falls on the spectrum, a continuum of possibilities somewhere. And so I started thinking about, like, if you took all of those, like even let's say 100 of them, and you could assess those in a person, then you could come up with a fairly good chart of what their behaviors might be and all those kinds of things. So I started thinking about all of that. A lot of these tests you can do, like the Myers-Briggs, that give you some indication of your personality, really operate on principles similar to what I'm dreaming about here. That brought me back to a couple of synods ago when I was watching, and it was fairly traumatic. I think it was 2023, and I noticed that the setting of the floor of synod is a place that's about reason and logic. All of its rules are designed that way. So there's a motion that's in front of everybody, and if you're going to get up and speak, you say, I am for the motion or against the motion. This is the expectation. People don't live up to that, but I'm for the motion or against it, and these are the reasons. Boom, boom, boom. Rational reasons. Because it's too expensive, because whatever you would have. And what a lot of the frustration was that was coming onto the floor was from people that would stand up and need to tell a story rather than give bullet points about the motion that's in front of everyone. Because the story they had in mind had to do with what they felt that they were losing in the way things were changing. And so I remember a lady standing up and saying something along the lines of, my family has been part of the CRC for generations, and what are these decisions we're trying to make going to do to my children's participation in the CRC? That's story-oriented, that's connection-oriented. And so that's another one of the spectrums. And you could be story-oriented, narrative-oriented, connection-oriented, or you can be, you could fall somewhere on the scale, and the other end of it is extremely rational. Think of Spock, right? His character was rational only, and did not understand emotion. He might have understood story, so he's sort of a flawed example. And so I realized that story-oriented people don't know how to function in a system that's set up for rational, so-called rational debate. Now there's a problem with that as well, because I believe that that expectation of rational debate, spirit-guided but rational, is a remnant of a time when it was believed, there are theologians that argued this, that our ability to reason was pretty much not part of the fall. It was pure. It could not sin in that sense. And so out of that we got a thing called scholasticism and a few other intellectual things that created the rules that we operate for synod these days. So there was this clash and this frustration in there. And this was at a time when I was beginning to own and to realize, I kind of realized for a long time, but I've started owning it in the last decade or so, that I'm a story-oriented person. I cannot give you a proposition like always tie your shoes on Tuesday morning. I have extreme difficulty stating a statement like that. It could be a truth, right? But always wear sunscreen on a sunny day, without having a story that goes with it. There was one Tuesday I didn't tie my shoelaces. By the way, I wear slip-ons, so I don't believe in shoelaces, but it's an example. So I could tell the story of one Tuesday when I didn't tie my shoelaces and crashed the bike or something, whatever. That's where on that spectrum I fall on the storytelling end of it. I make sense of life with story, and I have difficulty following people that make sense of life with propositional or rational statements only, because I want to know what's behind the rational statement. So this is what I'm thinking about these days. It's about spectrums. What spectrums do we fall on, and where do we fall on the places in between? We so much in our society and in Christianity, because of black and white thinking, which I might do a video about another time, we want to pin somebody on one or the other. But the reality is that all of us are somewhere on the slide, on the scale, on the continuum. So just sharing what I'm thinking about right now, and what will probably turn into a more carefully thought out written item someday. But I'm learning that it helps me to turn the camera on and talk it through the first time with you proverbially watching me and listening, and it already, even doing that, starts to sort out the thinking for me in my brain. So thank you for your attention to this, and it's time to turn off the camera and turn on the TV for the first playoff game of the Stanley Cup. Till next time.